Okay, so you've got Sensei Format all set up and Blender is raring to go. And your screen should look basically just like this. Now, I'm actually in full screen mode, which means the program isn't in a window. If you want to be in full screen mode, you can just come to Window and select Toggle Window Full Screen. Okay, so there's a handful of things we need to get set up here before we really dive into learning this beast. And the first thing we need to set up is our library down here. So this window will most likely look blank when you first install Sensei Format. So what you want to do is drag your mouse over this area and either press the tilde key, that's the little squiggly line key under the escape key on your keyboard. But if you're using Linux or something, or for some reason that button's not working, you can also press Control Up and it will also do the same thing, and then Control Up again or Control Down when your mouse is over an area to expand it. And that works pretty much in any window you are using in Blender. So we want to come down to this area here and press tilde key or Control Up, and then we can press T, which displays our little menu over here. If you're a previous Blender user, what you want to do is navigate to the folder on your computer where you keep all of your Blender assets, such as your models, your project files, textures, brushes, anything like that. It's really good to keep all that kind of stuff in a single location so you can access it really quickly in Blender. So if you don't have a folder like that and you're new to Blender, we can set one up real quick. And so let's just do that now. So I'm just going to click on the C hard drive. And you could put this folder anywhere you want. You could navigate to wherever you want. But we're just going to make this one directly on the hard drive here. And we're just going to, first we're going to come up here and press this little plus tab. So whenever you see a little translucent plus tab that's with a little black outline like here or here, that always means that a menu is hiding there in Blender. So we're going to click that to expand this, and we're going to press Create New Directory, and we'll just call this Blender Library. And then we'll click in here, and let's go ahead and set up a few more folders where we perhaps plan to keep things in our Blender career. So we'll press Create New Directory again, and we'll call this one Projects. Create New Directory again, maybe call this one Utilities, if I can spell this right, Utilities, I suppose. We could call this one Environments, and maybe make another one and just call it Textures. And so you could make as many kind of folders where you plan to keep assets and things here. Oh, well, let's make another one and call it Models. Okay, cool. Alright, so if we click this little bent arrow here, that means go to the above folder that the folder you were on was nested in. And so we see that in the Blender library we have all this stuff here. One quick thing we want to do is go ahead and click inside the Utilities, and let's create another directory here and call it Scripts. And this is going to be for something else later, but it's good for us to just get that out of the way. So let's press the Up directory button. And now we are inside of the base Blender library folder, and we can actually close this and use our mouse, click on the edge and drag this up, and then press the tilde key or Control Up or Control Down to minimize that window. And now we have access to this place where we plan to keep our stuff. You could make other folders too, like you could make one for tests or something like that. So whenever you wanted to go back and make one, just come here, press tilde key to expand this, and this little plus tab here, and create a new directory. Like say we wanted one for specifically for our test Blender files that are just kind of crappy throwaway Blender files we do just to make a quick test, but we want to keep them around. So we'd have that there. Could close this back up, press tilde key, and so we've got that there, and then we can go back up to our main folder. Okay, so we made that scripts folder inside of the utilities here, and the reason we made that is we're going to come over here to this most top left box that says Blender, and under this little drop down area we're going to select Hacker. And you'll see when we do that it sends us into the Hacker workspace. And a workspace in Blender is almost kind of like a separate little program. It's almost like you can imagine Blender overall as a program package, such as, you know, Adobe Creative Cloud, and these are, you know, different kind of programs almost. We're probably not going to be doing a lot in Hacker for starting off because this is for more advanced stuff, but we can go ahead and set up the library here so that we have quick access to our scripts in case we just, you know, want to fool around with stuff. So we'll do the same thing here in this little blank area. We'll hit the tilde key or the control up key, and then we'll press T to expand the menu here, and then also we can press this plus tab to get this drop down here. We want to press our C hard drive and select the Blender library we created and the utilities folder and the scripts folder. So we're now inside where we perhaps plan to keep scripts, and we want to close all this stuff back up and press the tilde key again. And so we don't really have anything in here right now, but eventually when you may want to start fooling around with add-ons and scripts and stuff, you'll have this so you can very quickly just select a script and just drag and drop it straight into your text editor, which is really cool and a really fast way to experiment with a bunch of stuff. So that's for much more down the road kind of stuff, but it's good for us to get it set up. So let's come over here where it says Hacker and switch it back to Blender. And now we want to go to File and User Preferences, and I'm going to expand the window just so it's easier to look at. So here we have our basic user preferences. We're not going to get into this right now. We just want to finish setting everything up so we can be ready to really dive into this thing. So under File here, you'll see that we have these different headings. We have a place that says Fonts, a place that says Textures, Render Output, etc. So this is a place where you can set up where you want Blender to either send things it creates or to access different stuff that you want to use. So for instance with fonts, I have the location set up to C Windows/fonts, and because that's typically on Windows where fonts are kept. And this is for when you're using text creation, 3D text and stuff like that, so Blender knows exactly where to get it. So we could click this folder, and under C you can click C and then Windows and then Fonts right here, and you see that's how I have that set up, and then you would just press Accept. And then here's like a default location for where you may keep textures. We could, you know, set that up as well. So if we could go back to actually where the library we created. Now I have mine set up to somewhere different, but if you wanted to keep everything all in one place, you could select your C hard drive, select the Blender library and the textures folder we created, and you could, you know, just start putting images and textures and stuff there. And I'll press cancel on that one. So basically you want to just fill these out. The temporary folder here is fine how it is, and the rest of these aren't really, you know, that important, but just letting you know that this is here so you can set up defaults if you want. Now you'll notice under Image Editor, in which Blender has a few capabilities of directly corresponding with whatever image editor you're using. That could be GIMP or possibly Krita, which are both open source, really cool programs. I have this set up to Photoshop, so for me it's this location, probably a similar location for you, although I'm not entirely sure how Adobe's Creative Cloud, where they place stuff, but you would just, anyway, you would want to select the File Browser button and just locate the place where that program is on your computer, and so that'd be all good. Now all this stuff here, pretty optional, but I mean this can come in handy down the road. And honestly, anytime you have the opportunity to set up something once and not have to repeat a task, do it. Always, always do that in anything you're doing. It's the #1 reason why people succeed at things and other people fail, because they think, oh, it just takes a second to, you know, select something whenever I'm doing it. Don't have that mentality. If you can do something once and be done with it, do that, you know. All right. So that's all set up, that's all good, and let's go ahead and click on this interface tab. Then we just want to press Save User Settings, and that will save all the stuff we just set up. and X this out. We also want to come over here and under File, press Save Startup File here and click on that. And then we can, if we close out Blender, File, Quit, and then we can come down here and open up Blender again, and all our settings and changes are saved, and we are good to go. We went over the basic process of setting up a library in Blender, but let's go ahead and take a look at that library via our computer's browser system. So I'm on Windows 7, so obviously, I'm on a Windows machine. So I've got this little shortcut here to jump straight to my computer, but you can of course press the My Computer thing on your desktop or get to it here. Usually you can get to your computer. So basically we just want to get here where our hard drive is, where we put that Blender folder. So just navigate to that however you need to do that. And so see, we have this Blender library folder here. And so I just want you to be aware that the folders we created in Blender are also actually on your computer. If you're downloading textures off the internet, or maybe models from BlendSwap or files and stuff like that, you can of course manually put these things into these folders on your computer. And once you do, they will of course be here to be drag and dropped into your 3D view or in the script editor in Hacker or whatever you're doing there. So just wanted you to be aware that these folders are real folders on your computer, and you can either put stuff in them via Blender or you can put stuff in them via your regular computer browser.